Replit and Cursor are two of the best AI app builders on the market right now. But I want to see which one is better. So I got the GOAT of Replit builders, Billy Howell, to face off with me and build the same exact app on Replit and Cursor at the same exact time to see which one's better. Let's get into it. So today we are going to put Cursor and Replit head to head, basically building the same exact app and seeing which one is better. Billy, I think just like me, you're not classically trained in coding or engineering as well, right?
That's correct. I studied public policy and taught myself.
How would you say, are you like 1 to 10, where are you at with coding? Do you understand like infrastructure and database and all that stuff? Or is it one-shotting with AI apps for the most part?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm trying to think of a good comparison. It's like if you learn to play guitar without learning musical theory, that's where I am. So I'm probably like a 9 of that. I'll probably make stupid mistakes about like systems architecture that I have to learn. So pretty good.
How long have you been doing it, by the way?
I've been coding like just side projects for like 5 years, but OpenAI and Cursor like 10x my coding, and then Replit like 50x my app building. I've only felt super capable for the last like 6 months now that Replit's a thing and the Cursor's really built out.
And so like those 5 years before, were you coding? Because you had to have actually been coding if you didn't have Replit or Cursor or something like that, right?
Yeah. I would just kind of tinker with HTML, maybe like a little bit of JavaScript, and then all sorts of scripts for Google Sheets and Excel. That's kind of what I like doing when I had a consulting job, was like automating spreadsheets. So you can kind of figure stuff out with like Stack Overflow and forums and just Googling.
Yeah.
It would just take a lot longer.
And now this is your full-time job now, right? Like app development for other people?
Yeah. So I still have the marketing agency, OX Labs, and I work with startups on marketing, but the app agency, Stupid Simple Apps, is taking more and more of my time because there's such a demand and there's so many people with ideas that want like a stupid, simple MVP.
Did you ever think that you'd be running like an agency, like building apps, or like traditionally not being trained in computer science? It feels like that was like never an option.
Yeah, I always have wanted to, just because I know I'm a tinkerer and I want to always clone more of me. So, hey, you go work on this idea or whatever. So it's kind of something that I wanted to do, but I didn't think it was, like super closely attainable. Like I thought I would have to go make money doing something else and then spend a lot to set up like a real team. But now it's super easy. We got like a skeleton crew and Replit and Cursor accounts to do it.
Yeah, now you're like the Replit guy on Twitter. You become like the go-to like prime example that Replit wants to use of like, hey, look what you can do on our platform. And you've gone viral a couple of times because of it. It's pretty sick to watch.
I'm not like a paid shill. It's just a really good product. And I think they have a smart team that responds to people like me who are like trying to explore the platform and like spread the word. So yeah, it's been.
And before we jump into it, so we can jump into the actual building with Cursor and Replit, but have you used Cursor as well? Or are you pretty much all in on Replit?
No, yeah. I mean, I started on Cursor before Replit, used that for like several months for all my coding. I really like Cursor, and I know some of the guys there. I met some of the team, and they're awesome too. So I really like Cursor, and I see that as a different product than something like Replit. It's kind of when you need to pull the code down and make really surgical changes. That's what I use Cursor for. But it improves every day. So you could probably use it for like starting an app now. I'm just kind of locked into Replit right now for MVPs.
Yeah. I mean, the main difference in like, I'm not classically trained at all. Like you know way more about coding than I do. But my biggest difference when I use the two products is that you do have to pull up a local host on Cursor to view it. Whereas like Replit, it seems like it's all kind of there and like more beginner friendly. Cursor just feels like you can go farther with it, but it's pretty scary to pull up, even though it shouldn't be. But it feels like less beginner friendly because of the local host, because it's more intricate and sort of builds all locally.
Install packages and use the terminal, which are like good. I was actually talking about this kind of dilemma with someone the other day where we're kind of going through the dial up to iPhone app like adoption curve right now with AI agents for coding, where like I struggled through having to paste everything into ChatGPT and use terminal and then use Cursor when it was like young. And now I'm on Replit, which abstracts away a lot of those things. But am I only good at it because I had to do those hard things and like really lean on my own knowledge? Like when people, pick up these tools, which one should they start with? That's kind of, you might not learn important coding things now because everything's so easy. I think it's good to poke around and use all of them and see where your gaps are.
Okay, let's jump into the actual comparison here. The idea that I had that we can basically build on Replit and Cursor at the same time here is this tweet from Samuel Thompson, basically turning any photo into a coloring book. So this is going to require the API from OpenAI to actually turn an image into a coloring book, basically black and white, so that you could color it in. I think that this idea actually has legs, so that's why I wanted to use it. Like, I could easily see this just being like a one-page, I think as Samuel Thompson puts here, just like a one-page Shopify store, and you could automate the entire thing on the back end, run UGC videos. I think someone's actually going to run with this. Kind of similar to...
It's going to be us, dude. What are you talking about?
I mean, look, it just might be after this. But do you remember, like, at one point in the dropshipping era, there was Simpsonized people or put cats down? Is it?
Yeah.
I know.
You and I consume the same content. I
100%.
Had this same
100%.
conversation with a buddy last year, and we went through figuring out how to do this. So on Etsy, you can pay to Simpsonize or like Legoize like yourself and get just paintings of yourself as a Lego or Simpson. And I kind of went down, I did a really big competitive analysis the other day, actually. And I told my sister, because she's an artist, I was like, people are paying hundreds of dollars, like $500 for an oil painting on canvas of their cat, like as a knight, or like, a Renaissance painting. And I was like, you should be doing this. People pay so much money for this.
So is your sister like a graphic designer, or do you mean she should just automate the whole thing? Because I think that's where it's going.
She's a graphic designer and an artist, like she paints. So for these these ones specifically are like, your moat is that these people are kind of searching terms. They're like, I want real like oil on canvas, versus like The Simpsons, which is, you're not going to paint that. So you could use AI for that and get like a similar quality thing. But The Simpsons, and then any kind of IP, like I feel like Smurfs or like South Park, there's tons of Etsy products turn you into these people. And then going another step further, another rabbit hole that I kind of went down was Greg Eisenberg's podcast. He was talking with Cody Schneider about these Cricut printers that like print paper for crafting and how people need templates for them, and they pay for those on Etsy too. And so I was trying to find like a pipeline to make these with AI and automate it, sell them on Shopify. But my buddy actually figured it out, and he generates them and kind of curates them and puts them on Adobe's whatever paid library. They'll just make like $20 here and there selling these templates. And he hasn't figured out how to do it like in bulk yet for everything in the dictionary, but there's definitely a market for these digital assets. It's a long-winded way of stealing your thunder on this, but and it's very interesting.
No, like I think you can run like the same exact drop shipping play that was ran in like 18, 19, 20 on like, hey, Simpsonize yourself, or like the cats and dogs on the Renaissance people. And just, it's way more automated because you don't actually have to have someone in the background in the Philippines pasting those heads on those figures. All right, let's just jump into it then. I'm going to share my screen one more time, and then let's pull up ChatGPT so that we use the same exact prompt for both Replit and Cursor. So let's just say, what are the main things here? I want to build an app that takes a picture. So I want to build...
I'm making my own plan so I can take you down. So let's see.
I want to build an AI app, or an app that takes a picture and turns it into a coloring book page. It should use the OpenAI API key to turn the picture into a coloring book. I just want it to be a simple web page, and I want these instructions to be clear to give to an AI coding tool. Anything I'm missing here, you think?
No, do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you help me? Here's a clear set of instructions. So the app overview, the app will be a simple web page that allows users to upload a picture and transform it into a coloring book page. The app will use the OpenAI API key to generate the line art from the uploaded image. Key features: image upload, convert to coloring page, download option, simple UI. Tech stack: front end, HTML, CSS, Java. Back end, no back end, all client side, API, OpenAI. This is pretty good. All right, I'm going to open a new project in Cursor and make this full screen. All right, so I'm just going to paste in I don't want this auto, I want this 3.7 Sonnet, Claude. And in Replit, you can also say what model you want to use as well, right? Are you using Sonnet most of the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have this in Cursor. I'm just going to send it and one shot it. I'll create a React app, run command. Okay, perfect. So while this is basically loading, do you want to pull up your screen and then set this up on Replit?
Let's do it. Here's the prompt. Let's go into Replit and paste it. And then I think once you paste, you need to just say something. Well, it's instructions. And let's see what it does. So I had a different route about it to do this. I think
So you're
the
cheating.
correct way. Oh, no, I'm not cheating yet. I'm going to cheat at some
Okay.
point. I did a little bit of research, and I suspect there might be a better way to get consistent results.
Okay.
Let's see.
Care to share?
See what Replit does. Yeah, just think, because I've tinkered with something similar, and I think if we use some sort of library that's like Photoshop image manipulation, we can actually just transform the existing image and make it into a coloring book. Like if we just take all the colors out and then like use some sort of blur to make the outlines. So that's what I'm thinking, but I want to see how OpenAI does with it. So let's go with this prototype. So we're looking at, this is like the start. Replit wants to get going. Do you want me to tick any of these boxes? So what this is, these are like additional features that usually it adds on at the end, but sometimes it kind of adds it in with the main app build. Do any of these fit our requirements?
Let me see here. I'm going to let you decide. Add image adjustment option. I would say probably not the first one. We'll make
Maybe
gallery.
the second one, gallery of previously converted images. And no, let's just see what it does. Because then that's we're gonna have to deal with storage, you know?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So let's approve, because what I'm thinking is it'll be easiest to upload photo, download photo, and not have to deal with a database if possible for this MVP.
Yep.
Oh, I'm skipping the money shot here. Okay, so Replit is,
man.
while you're installing React packages, I've got like a working front end or a mock-up of a front. You want to go back to yours or keep going on mine?
You can keep going on yours because mine's pretty ugly right now.
Do you have a front end?
Nope. I'm still installing packages here.
And are you using in Cursor, like, is there a composer or what's it called now for starting up an app? Is it just agent?
Yep. Yeah. I'll share my screen if you want me to. So here we are. Basically, I have the terminal popped out right here, and then I have my agent here. Let's try installing Tailwinds. So we're going to run that command. So basically just telling it yes until I need to pop out the terminal and say, like, you proceed to install these packages.
And you're installing these on your local computer versus what mine is doing is installing it on like a virtual computer.
Correct.
And so did it return you like a plan, like, hey, we're going to go through these steps to make the app?
Let's see here. So I'll create a React app that transforms images into coloring books using the OpenAI API key. Let's get started. Let's move into the project directory and install. So it doesn't come up with, like, when you just gave that to Replit, it comes back and says, okay, here's my plan. Here's some additional features that could be interesting. So it actually suggests that. And then you can check the box and say, yeah, I actually like that. I didn't even think of that. This is just, okay, heard you. Let's get started. Well, I can show you my first run at it. So this is what Cursor has given me. So compiled with problems, few issues here. So
did you do npm install?
No.
That'll probably fix the top one if you don't have that module. And then the second one, I've seen that before. I probably ask the chat to fix that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask chat. There we go. There's the npm install. Let's try it again. Look at that. We have our first coloring book generator. So this is it. Now it doesn't have my API key yet. So this is actually a good time to stop sharing and put that in.
All right. So you can choose an existing OpenAI key if you've saved it to your Replit account, which is really nice, especially if you're trying to prototype something fast. But it's good to get into the habit to spin up new ones and name them after the project so that if you're getting a bunch of usage, you can kind of tell where it's coming from. So I'm not going to replace my account one. So this is the first time it stopped, and that's pretty standard. It knows that it needs an API key. Click on the preview. Okay. Wow. So again, probably a little prettier than what you showed me.
Yep.
I told it, I didn't tell it to use ShadCN for the UI, but that's the component library I like. And I think my Replit account just knows now that I like it because it seems to include it by default now.
I think Replit does come out a lot prettier than Cursor does.
Is it not letting me do WebP images? Oh, supports JPEG and PNG.
Yep.
Okay, well, I've got a JPEG in here. Okay, so it doesn't show that it's attached in the UI, but this popped up, so maybe it is. Conversion failed. Good start.
Well,
My troubleshooting is going to look different, and here's what I'll do. Tell me 5 reasons why this could be happening and make recommendation on how to fix it. Don't write code yet. So I like to slow down the agent.
I'm going to share my screen here. I have something that we can try out now. So I just gave it my key. We're about to find out. I just converted the SpongeBob WebP to a PNG. Okay. That was expected. So incorrect API key provided. You can find your API key at, all right.
I wonder if it's using, so if you correctly did the API key, which I would think you did, I wonder if it's using the wrong endpoint.
Maybe. Okay, yeah, it looks like the application is still using the placeholder API key instead of the one we just added. That's why. The change we made earlier didn't save properly. Let's update it again. Let's try it again. Okay. The API is there now. What's up?
I got to share my screen.
Yep.
It's so exciting. It's a cool animation. So here's original fun. And I was like, it was like doing a progress bar. And I was like, oh, is this really going to work after 2 prompts?
Dude, what? What is that? So it just like didn't take the prompt from the image at all. It was just like create a coloring book from scratch, essentially.
Yeah, I think so. I think it doesn't understand. I don't think it's prompting it correctly. Let's try
Could
it
it
again.
be?
So this is what I saw. So we might need to tell it, okay, describe this image in one prompt and then take that prompt. Right? No. How does it work?
Again, above my pay grade, but I feel like you have to specify the actual prompt that it's giving to the API, right? Because like essentially on the back end, it's just like chatting with that API. So you have to send it with a prompt, I believe.
Yeah. So I'm going to roll down into Assistant and explain to me how the AI image generation works. We can stop mine now while we're waiting if you want.
I'm still dealing with the same error.
So back to mine, I found the prompt for the API. Convert this image into a black and white line drawing suitable for a coloring book. Keep the main shapes and outlines, but remove colors, shading, and background details. Make the lines clean, clear, and suitable for coloring in.
Okay. And that's what it was giving the whole time? Or did you just change that?
No, I haven't changed anything. Sorry, this is super boring. So what's going on with you?
This is my latest error here. So now it has the API key, but it says additional properties are not allowed. Prompt was unexpected.
So it sounds like your prompt isn't formatted correctly.
Like maybe I should ask it. Yeah. How are you prompting the API?
So what mine is doing is it's using ChatGPT's computer vision to look at the image and then send, I don't know what it's sending to document anything.
So it finally worked, but didn't. So it just made like a worse version of this.
Oh my gosh, that is bizarre.
It basically just recreated the image. So it probably has to do with the prompt. So why would mine work and yours didn't? Because this is clearly a new image.
Yeah. I don't know.
Weird. So here's what it just told me. So it said, I've completely redesigned the approach to create proper coloring book pages. The new approach first sends the uploaded image to ChatGPT 4 Vision, which generates a detailed description of the image, then takes that description and sends it to DALL-E 3 with specific instructions to create a black and white line drawing suitable. So it's not using the same model, essentially. They're talking to each other.
So the problem is going to be, it'll just be like, if you described a picture of SpongeBob to me and told me to draw it.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
And I don't know if this is by design of OpenAI so that people don't use image generation for bad. So I don't know. We'd have to figure out the workaround. Like pretty much how do they do it in the Chat GPT app?
Maybe we ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, so tell it, yeah, you do.
Okay, so I kind of just want to feed it. My app currently uses the following workflow to turn images into coloring pages. So I just said, how can I make this better? The current outputs are bad. Here's a few ways to improve. If you still want to use DALL-E, consider fine-tuning it with datasets specifically containing images and their corresponding line art versions. This could teach the model to better understand what constitutes a good coloring book. How could we do that? Could we feed it the example that Sam Thompson had?
Yeah.
Let's see. Give an example.
So my guess would be this is locked down on purpose by OpenAI so that people can't just use
right out of the box.
Well, I don't know, because you'd think the guardrails are there with DALL-E anyway. So I don't know what the thinking is there. Maybe we're just dumb, you know?
I mean, that's most likely. Let's see what we get here. It said better image description, so it enhanced the prompts. Did you figure something out?
Yeah. So I'm reading the Chat GPT docs regarding computer vision. And so you can enter an image URL. Okay, you can put an input image.
Okay.
So I might edit mine real quick to do that.
Yeah, I want to see what happens if you tell Replit to do that.
So basically for the nerds here, you can input an image URL like this. So I think I need to tell Replit how to do this. So I'm going to say, I'm going to start a new agent here to kind of reset the context. Read this doc from the OpenAI images and vision. We need to update our app to take an input URL instead of what we currently doing to send image URL. You paused, agent. Get to work.
So I don't know that I can get mine much better. It has taken out any colors, so it's only black and white. It's still doing some shading, but it's still clearly just explaining to the model what to write. And it's also doubling every time. So it's giving me 2 SpongeBobs every single time that I try. I'm not really sure where that one's going. It's just so random. Like, yeah, make 2.
So, I feel like it was stupid for us to choose SpongeBob because, like, aren't these things supposed to be sensitive to copyright or no?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Let me try it with the image that is from the Twitter thread. I also feel like we kind of shot ourselves in the foot with this one, like having it so AI centric, basically relying on a model rather than building a simpler application, but seem more fun.
I have Replit in the background booting up one that does it the other way.
I got something.
Okay.
And it's better than the SpongeBob one, but still it's just describing it. So I think this is the best one so far.
Oh my gosh.
It's not bad. Now, it swaps the male and female, and it's like from a different perspective. So it's clearly just describing it to them. But hey, we're getting somewhere, I think. I think that's probably like a wrap on the cursor one. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get it any better without using a different logic or different framework, right?
I think you could, this is pretty good. I think you could prompt it. You need to like just tell it more about like, make sure the staging, describe it literally. Like the man is on the right of the photo about 2/3 down. I think you could make it even better that way. That's pretty solid. And that's one of the advantages of if instead of just a turn any photo into coloring book, if your site was just only engagement photos, you could make the prompt super specific. It's like describe what the woman is wearing, like her shoes, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it actually could make it better. You could take this same image and turn it into the coloring book, but like the one that I just showed actually might be like better. You can actually make the image better. And this one actually is a little bit different. The guy and the girl look different. But yeah, no, I 100% agree. If you did it with pets or if you did it with
would
Simpsonized,
have
like
it
same idea.
describe the breed, describe, how many teeth do they have, like everything. We could just go ahead and you want to just test
Yeah, I do.
mine real quick? Okay, so first we're gonna try the non-AI route, the one that I just booted up.
Okay.
So we're gonna try this, and okay, here's the logging. Image received, processing SpongeBob 2, converting to grayscale, applying threshold effect, saved, processing complete. Okay, let me try it in the browser again, because I'm wondering like if it running in this little web view is preventing it from going right to my downloads. The other thing is I'm gonna go ahead and just add this in here because computers don't like file names with spaces in them.
Underscores.
If you're banging your head against the wall with something, like always make sure it's just coding 101, but just easier to make sure that your files don't have spaces in them or weird characters. Dumb little stuff like that can hold up your whole app. And that's why it's important to tell it, like I did, to add lots of console logging for exactly what's happening, because Replit and Cursor can look at the console and the log. So I don't think Replit would have known unless it had these, like what my file name was. So it wouldn't have been able to debug that. Okay, yeah, see, it did it in 49 milliseconds. I'm not seeing the process image, but this is kind of how I do a lot of my personal app development. Is I'll kind of pick two routes to do it. And a lot of times it is like AI versus using traditional packages. And I'll just kind of do them side by side like this to see what works best. And then usually it ends up being some hybrid approach, like a third version is the one that gets the job done best. So I guess the point of that is if you're trying to use AI or like something cool to take a shortcut, also do it the long way so you understand how it's traditionally.
Yeah, and I think you can sort of use AI to say like, explain to me what you just did as well, and then you can use your own logic.
Whoa.
You know what? It could be worse.
Yeah.
If
we
it
can work
just
with this.
took out the black, you're getting somewhere. That's actually better than the one that I had with Cursor if you took out like the black areas.
And that's just a simple, like I popped this into ChatGPT now and was like, why did this happen? It would be able to diagnose. So if it has like a black area, it should know like, well, I don't know how
Take
we do
that out.
that.
Yeah, I'm not sure because this does just look like a filter, right? Like this looks like if you put it into Canva and said turn it black and white, like something similar. Yeah, it's missing something. Is this the one that you had the new logic on, or this is still just straight out of the box?
This is non-AI. This is the new logic. And what it's doing two steps in the console. It's converting it to grayscale. So it's taking this and turning everything to grayscale. And then what it's going to do is look at where the grayscale is the darkest, make that black, and then everything else make white. So like it's applying a threshold for grayscale. So what we could do is make like a slider that adjusts that grayscale threshold. At what point is something dark enough to be an outline in a coloring book?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I still think there's legs to this idea, but yeah, it's clearly not as simple as we thought it would be.
Let's try me.
There you go. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's just like grayscaling it, right?
So you would have to do something where first you take a threshold and then you invert anything. I'm trying to think about it in my brain. It's a fun problem. And this is probably something that's like a coding interview question or something that people have done like in college before. Like it's a cool problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Won the battle here. I think you did.
Well, I think that we can score it in like 3 different buckets. So we can do like fastest to build. I think we could do like design and like looking better right out of the box, and then the actual operations of it. Faster to build. I think that Replit actually is faster to build because I had to install packages. So Replit's like idea to actual like application, I think is faster. If we say looks better, I think Replit wins on that.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah. And maybe it has something to do with you being in Replit and it understanding your design. Cursor kind of just like starts, it's bare bones as you can start at. But then I would say like the winner on the actual functionality after a couple prompts, probably Cursor on that one. That's my take.
Yeah. And I think that makes sense because Cursor is probably using way more prompting behind the scenes on problem solving versus Replit to start is balancing prompting on problem solving and design and, UX. Replit doesn't want to make it prohibitively expensive to use. So maybe they throttle some of that complex problem solving to start. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm able to get to those complex solutions with Replit for sure. But it seems like, yeah, Cursor can get you there quicker sometimes.
Yeah. I think the one thing that Cursor has been missing is like the real agent feel of it. And I think it's finally there that I can jump in to the agent and use Claude 3.7 and just tell it all of my problems. Where before you still had to know a little bit, especially when you started using it a couple of years
Yeah.
ago. Well, I think we wrap it right there. I appreciate it, Billy. And this was a lot of fun. Yeah. Maybe we should do another build. Maybe not as complicated of an application. And I think it would also be fun to basically do what you did on Greg's podcast, where you find a problem on Upwork or even Twitter or Reddit. Like we could even use deep research to do that and basically build it on the fly after we find the
I
idea.
think it's a great idea. And I think once we post this and it gets 3 million views, we can ask people to tweet at us, what should we do next?
Easy.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Nick. This was fun. Follow me.
Go follow him. Yep. All right. Thanks, Billy.